My name's Ismael Sanchez. I'm a 12th grader at the Eagle Pass High School. I played basketball here, point guard, shooting guard, and my jersey number was number 41. Well, I knew him, like I knew who he was, but I don't think I met him until I got to high school. Yeah, but I knew who he was, like he was my brother's coach. I knew he was a basketball coach there at the high school. I don't know, I'm not sure. From like 2000 to 2009, maybe coached 9 years. He was hardcore. He'd scream at you. He'll turn red easily. He'll scream all the time. I would always see him. And what I heard, I don't know if he broke a clipboard, but he would scream hardcore. Yeah. There was one player named Carlos Tapia. I'm not sure if he went to go play college ball or community. I think he was the best player that I've seen here at the Eagle Pass High School, under the direction of Coach Byrne. Oh, the first time I saw Coach Byrne was like I was a 6th grader, 5th grader, and I went to one of my brother's basketball games here at the high school, and yeah, I sat down, the game started, and man, he started screaming, the first couple of plays. I don't know who they played against, but that was the first time I encountered Mr. Byrne. As a junior high kid, I was mixed emotions, I guess, like nervous, scared, or afraid. Didn't know, like, I didn't want to mess up. Everyone wants to play at the varsity level when they get to high school. They want to hit the varsity level their first year for sure. It's not easy, but it was exciting because he's disciplined. I think a lot of players need that here. Discipline. When I hit high school, Coach Byrne was already retired as a head coach for basketball, and the new coach was Coach Ernesto Reyes. So I wanted to see what was in store for the next 4 years at high school.
When it comes to my dad, and I think it's in everything he does, he has extreme discipline with whatever he does.
Oh, yeah. That's what Smiley was saying.
And he works hard. If there's something he wants to do, he's going to do it, and he's going to do it right. And so he becomes extremely dedicated and extremely passionate. A lot of kids at the high school think he's, the funny principal, the one that they can joke with, and that he just has that serious face.
I see it a lot. He's really stern, but I've heard him speak Spanish too, like with the not so good kids, I guess. And, he gets along with them, and they get along with him, and I've seen that, and I take note of that because the way I see him, I've never really had a close encounter with him. I mean,
my dad's really great at building relationships with people that typically are isolated or excluded. My dad's just a very social person, and although he has the hard face, he is one of the easiest persons to get along to talk to.
Today is May 15th, 2018. We're honored today to be joined by Mr. John Byrne. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
No, we're all good.
Again, this is a podcast that interviews faculty here at school in order to learn more about faculty origin stories. So let's jump in, right? So we wanted to clarify, what were the years that you were coaching?
Here at Eagle Pass?
Eagle Pass High School.
Yes.
From 1998 to 2010. That was the year my son Patrick graduated, so I was 2010, I believe. Or 2010, I should say.
We know how much basketball has influenced your life, from playing casually in New York to coaching high school basketball in Texas. What has basketball taught you that carries over into the other areas of your life?
There's a lot of things that carry over. Team building is one. Your ability to get a group of people together, whether it's a high school basketball team, whether it's our staff, whether it's our administrative staff, or even a classroom when I was a teacher. Taking the various individuals and put them into a cohesive unit. Was always interesting to me. Other things that carried over from coaching that helped me professionally was, the accountability and the responsibility to others. It makes you get up and go to work every morning and understand that people depend on you to perform a particular way.
So what was it like coming from a culturally diverse environment in New York, for example, to a binary community in terms of the Tex-Mex culture here in Eagle Pass?
Completely different.
Yeah.
I guess it started when I grew up in in the Bronx. The neighborhood that I grew up in where I lived on my part of the block, we were all Irish Catholic.
Irish.
Around the corner was, or down the street a little bit, was a little Jewish area. Around the corner was all African Americans, and then down the other side was all Puerto Ricans.
Wow.
So I mean,
I
mean, I grew up in a diverse culture, but also a separated culture. Because New York, there's pockets of different nationalities that have all lived in certain areas. Then when I came to Texas the first time, when my high school coach took me and two of my teammates, he got a job at Our Lady of the Lake in San Antonio, and he took me and two of my teammates down here to come play, and going to the west side of San Antonio, to where me and my two buddies plus my head coach, we were the only Anglos within a 6-mile radius. So it was a little bit different. But then I met my wife right away, who was a Mexican American girl. And so I was kind of immersed into the Mexican culture right away. And
because of her?
Well, because of her family and because of where the school was located.
Okay.
And, and then after I graduated, we went back to New York, and I coached college basketball back in New York. And then,
so you went back to New York?
Yeah, and I coached.
You stayed here after?
No, we got married. And we went back to New York once again. My high school coach got another coaching job up there in New York at Pace University.
You had a few kids up there in New York, right?
Correct. The two oldest ones were born back in Jersey. Well, we lived in Jersey.
And Miss Byrne, she wasn't born up there, right?
No, she was actually born in Round Rock.
Oh, okay. Wow.
She was our first Texas baby when we came back.
Oh.
And then getting back to the culture. Before I came to Eagle Pass, I got to teach. My first teaching job in Texas was at a small school out in the El Paso area. And that's also a border community, 99.99% Hispanic. So the majority of my time in Texas has been in the Mexican culture side.
Right.
One thing that is not real popular, if that's the right word, in all these years, I've never learned how to speak Spanish.
You haven't learned?
I can understand some words. I can communicate to, say hello, open the door, and all that kind of stuff. But I couldn't sit here and talk to the three of you in Spanish right now.
Yeah, right. So, can you tell us the transition from high school to college athletics?
It's amazing. If you look at it from your perspective, from Eagle Pass, for a kid from any of our sports to go on to the next level is quite impressive, only because of how isolated we are. They don't have the ability to go compete against quality kids on a daily basis. Through their team sports, they get to play some teams during the year that are very, very good. Otherwise, all they know is their friends. Growing up where I grew up, I was fortunate enough to play on a very, very good high school basketball team. There was 7 of us that went on to play college basketball. 2 at the Division I level, and then, like me, I started out at a Division II school and went to an NAIA school, and then a couple of my buddies went with me, and we had 2 other guys that played at the Division II level. I was fortunate, but we also had the opportunity because I lived in Jersey at that time. We had moved out to New Jersey when I was about 10. We moved out of the Bronx. We used to live about 10 blocks from Yankee Stadium, and then we moved out to Jersey. But the metropolitan area is so congested. There's parks and there's gyms and there's leagues all over the place. So we always got to travel and play against kids like us or better than us, which helped us get better. That's the main difference between our kids here and growing up in a larger area like the San Antonio area. For our kids to do it, if you look at our really good athletes, like Sandra Mendoza, Coach Mendoza's daughter, fabulous softball player, all conference player in college at a Division I school. They sacrificed. They went and traveled every weekend with their daughter, and so she could play against better people. It's not everybody can do that. So to get to the next level here. It's helpful if you play on a successful team. It's helpful if people get to see you. If you're not on the recruiting map, if your school's not on the recruiting map, it's awfully difficult for somebody to come find you just because of where we're located.
Yeah.
And you coach Carlos Tapia, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I thought he was the best player I've seen play here at EPHS. What do you think about him?
I wish I got a chance to coach him his senior year. I wish I got a chance to coach that team that year, but I didn't. That was one of, we had three other teams that we were right there for playoff spots during my tenure. Fell a game short a couple times, and then one we lost our last two, which kind of knocked us out. Carlos was a very, very athletic kid. He worked at his game. He worked at his skill. I mean, if you watched him run track, he never ran track before, and all of a sudden he goes to they run in the state meet. His 4x4 team runs in the state meet. That's the kind of athlete he was. So it would have been, like I said, I would have enjoyed coaching that team.
Wow.
Yeah. Here, you want to take that?
What person and or event has had the most influence in your life, and like why? If it's not like a coach, then like, oh wait, do I read that?
No, yeah. I believe the person you would speak about would be Coach Halloran.
Well, he was my freshman football coach. He was my freshman baseball coach. He was the head basketball coach at my high school. We happened to live around the corner from one another, and I went to a Catholic high school, so there's no transportation or anything after school. So after practice, because he lived back in those days, parents had no problems asking somebody to take care of their kids or to pick them up and drive them home. So since he lived around the corner, my mother said, "Can you take him home every night?" And that's not the coolest thing in the world as a freshman in high school to have to go home with the coach.
Yeah.
But but because of that, we created a bond, if you will. They had a little son. I became the little son's babysitter on the weekends. He ended up becoming mine and my wife's godchild after we had gotten married. He got baptized at an older age, and he wanted us to be his godparents. Coach Halloran's godparents to my oldest son, Patrick. The guy taught me how to play the game. He taught me how to coach the game. He taught me how to be a great father. He taught me he taught me a lot of things. And I mean, rest his soul. He passed away at a very, very young age. He doing what he loved and what he was the best at. He was considered one of the top coaches in the East Coast.
Wow.
Wow.
And he died doing what he loved. He had a heart attack at a halftime of a basketball game. At Pace University. Still super close to his wife, talk to her at least once a month. His son and I communicate still. And so as far as the person that got me to where I'm going, he taught me how to work, taught me how to be responsible. He held me accountable to do a lot of things, and if I didn't do them, he had no problem, just like I don't have a problem now telling somebody if what they're doing isn't the right way, trying to be nice about it.
Right. Wow.
And the event that also changed my life was meeting my wife.
Your wife.
I'm not gonna lie about it. I was I don't know what the word is. When I came to Texas, I was already 21. I'd been to college for a couple of years. My wife was still a little bit younger than me, and I thought I just thought I was it, and she taught me how to be humble and caring and all that good stuff.
What are your best memories in coaching for EPHS?
Best memories: the first time we beat Nixon.
Oh wow!
Nixon at that time was the best team in South Texas. The head coach that's at United now, Archie Ramos, was at Nixon during those years. It was the first very good team we had. That's the first team that should have made the playoffs. We didn't. And we had already previously beaten Nixon the year before. But that year we were both tied for and we were only 3 teams went to the playoffs. We were both tied for it. And it was the best. It was when we were still freshman, sophomore campus, junior, senior campus, and we played our games at CC Wynn, and there wasn't a seat to be had. I have yet to see that in my 20 years here. It's the only time we had all the little league kids, all the elementary kids there. We had parents there. The place was packed, and it was a great game. It was back and forth the whole game, and they were really good. But we had the league MVP, Mike Villarreal, playing, and that was probably the most athletic team that I had here in Eagle Pass. Wasn't real big. We didn't start anybody over 5'8", but we had the state high jump runner up on our team, Joe Valdez. He high jumped 6'7". And we had another kid, Lalo Flores, that could get up there and hang around the rim. And they, like I said, they weren't any bigger than 5'8". And we had a kid, Jesse Rodriguez, who's a Border Patrol agent down in the Valley now, that could shoot it. Anything over half court was open game to him. And then Mike was just, a really good player. So that was probably the best game.
And what was the score?
I think we ended up winning by 8, making free throws down the stretch.
Wow. Okay.
That's insane. What made you decide to coach basketball?
High school.
When my wife and I decided to move back to Texas, and I was coaching in college at the time. I moved because we were moving because it's expensive living back east. It was my wife. We just had the 2 babies and were born back to back, so my wife was home with the kids, and it was just my salary, and it got difficult. Mm-hmm. So we moved back, and I figured with my background and my degree and everything, I'd have no problem finding a job. And I tried to convince myself, okay, I'm done. I tried coaching, and I was actually pretty good at it, but it's okay. I did it. That lasted about a week after we moved back to Texas. I couldn't find a job for a while. Then I worked construction. That first day of working construction, and I was carrying steel. They were building a hospital in Austin, and so I got a job working there. I got home that first day, and then I just started looking through the different colleges, and because I wasn't licensed to teach in Texas at the time. So I went back to school, and I knew after a day of working construction, nope. So I found in all honesty, I got into teaching so I could get back into coaching.
Wow.
So ultimately, why did you decide to coach here at EPHS?
I was in El Paso, and I ran into a friend of mine who happened to be. He just had gotten the head coaching job here at Eagle Pass, and me and my wife, we were just looking to move, closer to her family. Like I said, was in Round Rock, so we were just looking to come closer towards San Antonio and everything, because El Paso for her to go see her family was an 11-hour car ride. So I ran into him, and he says, I think I might have a job for you. So I came over, we looked, ended up, there was a teaching spot and a coaching spot available, got hired. In all honesty, I came here with a 3 to 5 year plan, because the next year I became the head coach, and it was just to gain experience, totally honest with you, and we wanted to move back towards either somewhere between San Antonio and the other side of Austin. That's where we wanted to go, and I will be receiving my 20-year pin this year, so.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah, wow.
Here, you want to take that?
How would you like your players to remember you?
That I was prepared, that I tried my best to put them in a position to be successful, and that even though my demeanor might have not been cordial, I had their best interests in heart. And the kids that played for me, I still have a couple guys that actually got into coaching, and I have a bunch of guys that when they come back into town, they come knocking on my door. I have other guys that call me still, and so that when that stuff happens, even though we didn't win that many games, I know I was still successful with some kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Another question I have actually. When you decided to switch from baseball to basketball in your early life, I guess, what was your family's response when you did that?
Nothing really. I just thought growing up, just like every kid here in Eagle Pass growing up, thinks that they're, the next coming of Mickey Mantle or something. And, and I as a little league kid, I was just like anybody else.
You were a freshman, I believe, or somewhere around there?
Yeah, I played freshman baseball, and that was it. And like I said, my high school coach was my freshman baseball coach, and after about 3 weeks, he says, "Okay, enough of this. You're done." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "No, I got other plans for you." So he handed me a basketball and said, start working out and we'll get, and so that's when I started working on my game. And
wow, you're really good at it too.
I was okay.
Is there any message you'd like to send to our school that we haven't already addressed?
It's a unique place. It has, just like any situation, there's pros and cons. Here, I think the pros outweigh the cons. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been here as long as I've been here. The school in the district has been very good to me. My children, all 4 of our children, have come through here, and they've all been successful. You know, my oldest daughter is the public information director or officer for the district here. She's been successful. You know, my daughter Jackie, you know, she graduated number 9 in her class. She was the highest female ranked athlete in her graduating class. Went to UT. My son Patrick was a 3-time regional qualifier in track, and then my son Colin, the youngest one, he was a 3-time state qualifier in bull riding, of all things.
Bull riding, okay.
So I mean, it provided opportunities for our children. So, you know, it's the only thing that I still don't like is that to get anywhere it takes 2.5 hours. So one thing I don't know if I could stay here another 50 years. I don't think I'd ever get over that.
Right, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been nice having you.
I appreciate you guys and asking about me.
Thank you.